So here we are in Subscribe 360. We're just going to this particular member, Adam Applicant. We can see his details there and whatnot. But if we expand this and have a look, we'll see we've got a section that's down as grant applications. Now this is just the way we've configured the framework to deal with grant applications in this particular scenario. It can be for any sort of scenario whereby you've got a process uh, divided up into a number of steps that maybe require extra documents, authorization, and so on. So we can see this one for this particular grant because for a number of different steps in terms of actually applying for the grant, has various sign-off and authorization steps, documentation that might need to be provided, and at each step you get the opportunity to either tick or cross depending on whether or not you've got that information together with attachments and various other details. So we can see here the person, the various details on it, and who their supervisors are. In this case, they've got a couple of supervisors. And whether or not the actual application has been signed off by the supervisor. We can see they haven't been in this particular scenario. But if they had been, and the steps had been completed, we could have actually moved to the next stage. We can see here the actual research proposal. There's various different bits involved in that, and there's biographical sketches. And these just, as I said, this is just the way we've configured this particular framework. So each one of these tabs, if you like, need completing before actually moving to the next stage in the process. There's supervisory statements on here, have they been submitted and who they've been submitted by. There's even a scoring section on this particular application where we can, if we scroll down towards the bottom of the actual application form, right down towards the bottom, it's working its way down there, nearly there. You see the scoring section here. Each section of this actual application demands a certain score based on the actual previous information provided. And if the score is above a certain value, then it goes to the final stage, which is an approval stage. And at that particular stage in this process, the grant application check can be dispatched and the applicant can carry on doing the research grants into whatever it is it was. So if we actually go back to we're just minimizing the actual process steps there just to give you more screen real estate. But if we go back and have a look at the contacts again, and it was one particular contact we were looking at. In this case, I've got a short list here that shows me all the applicants. So in the scenario you might be looking at, it could be all those requiring peer review, for example. So if we look at ARGA applicants in this particular scenario, another one, then you see the member details on there. But if we go to the top there, then we have the grant application details. So we can click on that. And we can see the grant applications that ARGA applicant has made. Double click on this particular one, Can Earthworms Hear Earthworms? What we'll see is most of these particular steps have actually been completed. Again, you can see the ticks and the process boxes there to indicate that particular step has been completed, and the stage that we're on now is actually the scoring stage, which is sort of the penultimate stage in this particular process. If we look at the supervisory statements, we got it clicked as completed in this particular demonstration example because we didn't put any validation on it to say have we put the details in there, but obviously as part of setting up any framework for this particular part of functionality, not only do you get the opportunity to put in the details such as the peer that you might be reviewing work or perhaps attaching documentary evidence, for example. But the actual framework will actually validate that information. Even though you submit next stage, click on the button that says next stage, the framework will actually validate that information for you. If we actually look at the process that sits behind all this, and we can see we just went up to the top there to click on the edit process box. We'll see that expanding in a second. When the mouse goes back to the top. The cursor just moving around just to show the various fields that need completing in this scenario in the scoring section. So you can see each element has a different score on it. Scores are added up automatically by the system to give you an overall score. And again, if you need to, once you've reached a particular score, that application then is automatically passed for approval. So the next stage section in this particular process is automatically executed by having the relevant score in there.